What's up guys, welcome back to Pembroke's Own. I hope you're all doing really well because I feel like absolute toilet today. For anyone who follows me on Instagram, you know I might have been around town yesterday all day in the sun, drinking very heavily. So I'm going to get this video out of the way before my hangover kicks in. Before that, I just want to say a huge thank you for all the love and support on this channel so far, all the new subscribers I've got and all the feedback I've been getting. I'm working on the channel so much as I go, day by day, video by video. I'm learning a lot more. But with the basic software I've got, this is sort of the best I can do for the moment. So if you're new here, please subscribe. Like today, I'm giving writing advice. Some days I talk about major world events or certain things that have happened that have inspired my writing. You'll see on Fridays I do Call of Duty videos where I'm sometimes playing with the guys, but it's mostly by myself. And I also do Warzone Ramblings, which is kind of like my blog and just random uploads talking. Oh shit. You see what I mean? I'm not okay. Fucking hell. Warzone Ramblings is like my blog where I just talk about random stuff over some Warzone footage. So anything and everything goes here. I have no idea what that intro was. For any first time writers out there, going into the editing stage of your book can be quite overwhelming. So I'm here just to try and break down what happens for me when I go through my own writing process, particularly in this editing stage. It's important to note that everything I'm talking about is extremely subjective. You might take a different route, you might have different styles of editors, but this is just to give you a bit of an insight and also break down that it's not as daunting as it may be. Although I do need to tell you that it is incredibly laborious and sometimes fucking tedious. For all of you who do know, my third book, Insidious Valor, is with my proofreader, and this book I can't wait to get out to you. The editing stage for this has been a lot quicker than my first two. Potentially because I've got better at writing myself, but because also this is the third time I've done this Rojo, I now know what works for me. If you're looking forward to my third book and you haven't read my first two books, The Taste Beneath and Diseased Intentions are on sale on Amazon now for a discounted price depending on what region that you're in. These books do follow a series, and that's also going to be a part that I'm going to talk about my editors as well. So why editors? This is more for self-published authors out there. I do know some traditional authors who do hire an editor before handing off to their publisher, just to make sure that it's a lot more tidier and neater than their original drafts. If you are going the self-published route, then editors are a must, because no matter how good that you think you are, you do need a set of eyes looking over. And beta readers do count, but at the end of the day, these are hired professionals who you are paying good money to actually rip your work apart, because beta readers are good for the story, but I always tell my beta readers personally that I'm not looking for any spelling, grammar or anything like that. I just want the story from a reader's perspective. Why you should hire editors though is because they are professionals. This is their line of work, and as much as you might think that you are a good writer, you might be very great at punctuation and all the other little bits in between, but these people do know more than you and have worked in the industry longer than you. So what you are paying them to do is make your work better. Editors are professional and are mostly freelance, unless you are going the traditional publishing route, and then they will have editors on board at their line of work that will break it down for you, so you don't have to go looking for them yourself. I found my editors on Fiverr. I'm sure there are other freelance services out there where you can find editors. It's a case of just what works for you. Fiverr for me was very reassuring, particularly as a first-time writer, when I could read reviews but also talk to the editors first to get some feedback and find out if my line of story or the genre that I write would be, fitting for them, if they could work in between it. It's got to work for both people, basically. So there are three different types of editors. The first is the developmental, the second is the copy and line editor, although sometimes they can be two separate editors if you're going for the 4-editor route, and the final one is the proofreader. I'm going to give you a very basic overview of what these editors do, but I'm sure they could describe their job much better than I ever could. The first editor is the developmental editor, and their job is to look over your story as a whole. This involves everything from character arcs, world building, to scenery, plot holes, everything that is essentially story-based within your work. My developmental Erica will point out the occasional bit of maybe punctuation, but she really does focus on the story, but without her pointing out some smaller things that I never knew as a writer. One being that when you have a number in a book, you should write the number as the word, whereas the first time I did it, every number was the digit itself. The second editor is the copy and line editor, and this is the one that I'm sort of going to struggle to explain correctly, but I can put it out in words, And CJ, if you're watching this, if I've just butchered your job title, sorry. Their job is not strictly story based, but CJ has pointed out some stuff in my story over time. This could involve, how did this character get here, or am I, you know, she will highlight some stuff throughout my manuscript. Am I particularly talking about this person? But their job isn't quite towards the punctuation or grammar yet. This is the consistency of your writing style. If you write in first person, past tense, it's their job to make sure that it all correlates and all follows that same structure that you're choosing to write with. Their job is also to break down sentence structure, and maybe if you've got a sentence that would be a lot better shorter and you just have to maybe switch some bits, maybe a verb or an adjective back and forth so it shortens it and makes it cleaner, it's her job, or their job, sorry, to pick up on that. It's 2024, I did not just assume gender. I know there are male copy line editors out there. Don't fucking cancel me. The third and final editor is your proofreader, and this is grammar, spelling, punctuation. There is not a lot really to do once you get it back. You do have to read over this, but it's important to note that after this stage, you can no longer make changes to your book. Realistically, you don't want to make any structural changes to your book after the developmental stage, but you can do the occasional changing of the plot during the copy and line editing, just as long as it's nothing too major. The reason you don't want to change your story after the proofreader is if you change your story, it is now a new story. So it has to go through the editing stage again. Which is why my book is now with my proofreader, and yeah, I've just been enjoying this time because I know now that that story, minus the grammar, punctuation that I'll have to change when I get it back, the story itself is finished. It's a hell of a relieving moment once you go through these stages with the editors, and as it can be disheartening sometimes to realise maybe what you had planned doesn't maybe read as well, but you're there to learn, and that's why you're paying these people. So my editing process, I don't know if any other authors do it this way, if they have a different style, but I know a lot of authors, when they get their manuscript back from the editor, they will download it from the email that they get it back or whatever you get it from, and they would take that manuscript and look at the highlighted changes or potential changes, references, or even suggestions from the editor, and they will work on that manuscript. What I do is I take the one that the editor has sent back to me, and I have a small window on my laptop where that one reads, and next to it I have the original one that I sent them, and I read through sentence by sentence to make sure that they're the same. Essentially, I read my book twice, and when it comes to if there are any changes that I might not have noticed, I can change them sentence by sentence. This is incredibly laborious, but it's better for me to do it that way so I can just feel confident that I know that every sentence matches what the editor agrees with or has suggested that I change. And also, for someone who left school with a D in English literature, it's a good learning process for me. When it comes to the time frame, all editors are different, so I can't really speak on that. My developmental edits are normally around about between a month and a half before I get it back. Copy and line editing is normally 10 days when I get it back from CJ. And Abby, my proofreader, the first two books were about a month and a half, but she's given me an 18-day quote for this month. That could literally just be how busy they are in terms of other projects that they have going on. And when it does come to me now editing, when I get the email first back, before I make any changes, there will be a note page from the editor saying what they liked, what could be changed, consistencies, stuff like that. And I'll open the full document and have a quick scroll through my whole manuscript and just have a look at some of the highlighted changes so I can prepare myself for what's coming. I tend to leave it about a week just to psych myself up to do it, and then I open the laptop, as I say, and then put both documents next to each other, and I want to get this editing bit, whether it's the developmental edits, the copy and line edits, or the proofreading, done in 2 hits, just so I'm not lingering on it too much. I will, of course, pay attention to what's being highlighted because you have to take on board their information. You don't necessarily have to implement it because it can be subjective unless it's a full-on spelling mistake or something that just reads really badly. But that bit I try and get done as quick as possible, maybe dedicate a whole day off to it and just slam my way through it. Again, I don't know if that would work for you. It works for me just so it's not constantly in the back of my mind for weeks and weeks and weeks. I like to get it done, dusted. Then once the edits are done from the first 2 editors, have another quick check through and then send it on to the proofreader. After the proofreader, I normally have about 2 or 3 more rereads, just to make sure everything is on point. And I also do this as well. I don't know if you do this or if any other writers out there do this, but the final reread I do backwards, sentence by sentence, just so, because I know the paragraphs so well, I can tend to get ahead of myself and misread a incorrect sentence because I'm already thinking of the next sentence. So I read it sentence by sentence backwards, just so my brain can't get ahead, and I reach each sentence individually. I could have worded that so much better. This is why I should probably pay for editors for YouTube. Also incredibly subjective is the way that I take their feedback, but not in terms of whether I think they're right or wrong. This goes back to the video I did about a month ago of how I write my books. And if you watch that, you would know that I write my books in thirds. And I also send them out to my beta readers in thirds as well. So technically, the editors are the first readers to read the manuscript from front to back. So they get a whole new sort of fresh perspective that I have not got from another reader just yet. As I said, this is my third book now, and I've used the same editing team for all 3 books now. When I say team, they don't know each other, they're not related. I just call them my editing team, but this is because they've been there with the story so far. I wouldn't see any reason whilst I'm doing particularly this 5-part series, this 5-book series, to change an editor when I already know that Erica, CJ and Abby know my story inside out. Also working with them because they're actually great editors. My first time they eased my nerves so well, gave me good guidance. The third time through with Erica, absolutely great. CJ, absolutely great as well. I am learning. There's a couple of things that I still do wrong. For example, when it comes to speech or quotation marks, I never know when to put a full stop or a comma at the end, and it's still pissing me off, and it's the most tedious thing. But yeah, you've got to do it to make your book better and also more accessible to readers, because first drafts and beta readers might miss over something that could be extremely clunky, so you have to give it to a professional to iron these bits out. And again, can be tedious, can be boring, can be lonely, but if you want to get your book out there to the best standard, then hiring professionals is the way to go. So yeah, that is my editing process. I'm quite happy that I managed to get that out as quickly as I did and hopefully explain it as I did. I'm not good today. For once, I'm not actually ill. I'm just suffering because of yesterday. Yeah, I need to go get something to eat. I'm not sure what to make yet. I'm not even sure I want to step outside because my anxiety is through the roof. If you're a first-time author, or if you're taking another approach to editing and you do something differently, let me know down in the comments, because there is no set way, just as long as you're doing what you feel is right for your story. If you're new here, please subscribe. I'm trying to upload 3 times a week at the moment. My third book is coming out. If you're excited for that, leave a like. If you want to read my first 2 books, as I've said, right there, they're on Amazon right now for a discounted price depending on which region you are. If you did enjoy this video and you found it educational or informative, please leave a like, and yeah, I'll see you guys soon. As always, much love, take care, peace.